Very warm welcome to you. It's my pleasure to welcome you to another edition of Editors Forum. I am Rita Omodia, and of course on this program we get to discuss topical issues, front burners, headline stories that occurred during the week. Of course, we still know that we have to continue to maintain our personal hygiene as the COVID-19 is still with us, even though we have had some tremendous revelations of a new cure rather for the virus, but it's still on clinical trials. So we are still all encouraged to make sure we maintain good personal hygiene and of course follow all the safety guidelines and protocols given by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Now, while health matters are still there, we know that the political space is fast heating up, as we know that in Edo State the governorship elections is kicking up, and the both camps, the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, are all gearing up to the Edo governorship elections. And we know that Governor Godwin Obaseki has resigned from the All Progressives Congress and moved over to the People's Democratic Party. And while he has done that, we know that there's still crisis lingering in the camp of the All Progressives Congress. Well, we'll be discussing all that on today's show. And on health matters, we know that the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors embarked on a strike due to negligence from the government. Well, the government on its part has donated money to 31 teaching hospitals, but yet we have not received any information about their strike. So till now, the strike is still ongoing. Security concerns are still on the front burner during the week, as we heard of Katsina killings, and of course we heard of the Northern Elders Forum complaining that the president has failed to address the issues of insecurity in those parts of the country. Well, the president actually reacted to this, and he had told the service chiefs that excuses will no longer be tolerated again. We still have on the front burner for today's edition the NNPC probe. Yes, while we're talking about security and health matters, the oil sector is really dwindling, as we know that in 2018 the Katsina refinery had zero revenue, and this has brought lots of complaints from Nigerians. Well, all this we'll be discussing on today's edition of the program Editors Forum. Of course, I'll not be alone on today's edition of the show. I have with me Stanley Edigbo. I hope I'm correct. Edigbo, right? Yeah. All right, he's the editor for the Moment Online. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
And how are you doing so far?
I'm fine.
I can see that. All right, let's kickstart today's edition. We will start with Edo 2020 politics. As of course I said earlier on that Godwin Obaseki has resigned from the All Progressives Congress camp, and he has moved over to People's Democratic Party. Now, he told his supporters that he will be contesting the 2020 governorship election in the state on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. Now, Obaseki, who had been described his disqualification from the All Progressives Congress as unjust, noted that defecting to the PDP was to engender good governance in the state. Let's take a look at those packages and we'll be right back.
Well, I don't know if it's good news. You recall that my last statement, my last tweet, I said that I'll make a decision after my disqualification was announced by APC, that I will make a decision after I have consulted with the leadership and my supporters in Edo State, and also have informed the president. I'm just here today to inform you that I have now decided formally to resign my membership of the All Progressive Congress. I will now announce in the next few days my specific line of action and what platform I will be contesting the gubernatorial elections on.
Within the states and across the country, to become a member of PDP. PDP, in my view, has demonstrated and has shown that it is a party that is rooted in democratic practices.
It is held by singular honor and privilege to allow the world chairman to present the membership card to His Excellency, the Governor of Edo State. Member of the PDP in Edo State, His Excellency, Godwin Nawagasa Obaseki.
A racketeering since an Abuja High Court in March this year suspended Comrade Adams Oshiomhole as the substantive chairman of the ruling party. But the appeal court's ruling that affirmed Oshiomhole's suspension made matter worse as the power tussle got to its peak when the Assistant National Secretary, Victor Giadiom, came up alleging that the High Court, while suspending Oshiomhole, recognized him as the acting secretary. Giadiom hinged on this assumption, quoting relevant sections of the Constitution, nullified activities superintended by the suspended chairman and promising to name a committee to rescreen APC aspirant Jocelyn to contest the gubernatorial election primaries in Edo State. While declaring himself as the acting chairman, he said the process of elections in Edo and Ondo State will start afresh.
This is the first statement by Chief Honorable Victor Giadiom, acting national chairman of Progressive Congress on Wednesday, June 17, 2020. I bring to your notice that on the 16th of March 2020, Honorable Justice S.U. Bature, in suit number FCT/HC/M6447/2020, had ordered that the suspension of Comrade Aliu Oshiomhole, I, Chief Honorable Victor Giadiom, should act as national chairman of our great party. That order could not be immediately effected at that time because of the temporary reprieve Adam Oshiomhole got from the Court of Appeal on the same date.
Minutes after he made his declaration, which recognized him as acting chairman, other members of the National Working Committee sat and named the Assistant National Chairman in charge of South-South, Hilary Atta, as Oshiomhole's replacement. The group declared as vacant Giadiom's office, that is, the office of the Deputy National Secretary, saying he ceased to be their deputy scribe after he resigned to contest the deputy governorship position in Rivers State. Hilary Atta, who spoke on behalf of the group, however, resolved to sustain the activities of the Oshiomhole-led executive, naming Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma as the chairman of the Edo State gubernatorial election primaries slated for June 22 and Mustapha Bello as the chairman of the appeal committee for the primaries elections.
And in dealing with that matter, we have resorted strictly to the Constitution of the All Progressives Congress, because the Constitution is intended to deal with matters such as this, that in the event of the inavailability of an officer of the party, the Constitution is invested with the process of replacement. According to the Constitution of our party, the NWC reaffirms His Excellency Chief Ajimobi, the Deputy National Chairman South, as the acting national chairman of the party.
All right, you're welcome back. You're still on to Editors Forum, exclusive to Galaxy Television. The clips you saw there, we first of all played the one from the People's Democratic Party, where we saw that Godwin Obaseki has defected from the APC and moved over to PDP. And the last one you saw there was from the camp of the All Progressives Congress, where we see a bit of controversy, twists and turns concerning the head, or rather the national chairman of the party, following the suspension of the national chairman, that is Adams Oshiomhole. So we'll take it little by little. We'll start first of all with the PDP camp. Now we know that Godwin Obaseki now has moved over to the People's Democratic Party, and this was following his disqualification for the primaries in the camp of the All Progressives Congress. Now in the heat of this, the PDP, that's the People's Democratic Party, has postponed its primary election from June 19th and 20 till June 23rd and announced waivers for the governor. Now, while announcing his defection, Obaseki asked his supporters in the state and Nigeria to join the People's Democratic Party. Of course, also, we know that there are other people who are also contesting under the People's Democratic Party for Edo State, and one of them, we know there are about 3 aspirants. We have Gideon Ekene, Ogbeide Ihama, and Kenneth Imaswagwon. Well, he vowed, as the last one vowed, he will not succumb to internal or external pressure to step down for Obaseki to secure the party ticket. So let's start now with the People's Democratic Party. We are joined now by Biodun Shomi, of course, as a journalist and a public affairs analyst, very vast in this area, one of your expertise. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
I'm pleased to be here.
Okay, let's start with the People's Democratic Party now. Gordon Obaseki has moved over there, and some of the people who were aspiring getting the ticket there, one of them said he would not step down for Obaseki. Now, do you think Obaseki, two of them, now do you think Obaseki would win the PDP ticket? Let's start with you, Bjordan, first.
Yeah, what is very clear is that the way political parties are organized in Nigeria and funded, you know, gives room for godfatherism, give room for deals to be done behind the door, to the extent that delegates no longer matter. They only vote where they are told to vote, you know, and that is the problem. If you notice, what Obaseki did was to have meetings with PDP leaders, including governors, you know, with a view to secure their consent, knowing at the end of the day, all those delegates are coming from those states would eventually vote for him. So he has the reach currently, and he has the blessings of those governors. But what you see going is a political game. You know, what you don't think APC will go to bed, in as much as within the APC camp, you also have people who are loyal to Obaseki who refuse to leave the party. They will remain in that party, including one gubernatorial aspirant, to continue to challenge in court. So also APC will not go to bed, and probably they are also influencing the other 2 people saying we are not going to pull out of it. It's not because of any material gain. It's not because of lack of it. It's simply because, you know, both parties are playing games. At the end of the day, what will happen is whoever will win the race now depends on the level of violation. If, for instance, there are so many court orders against the APC currently in Edo State, to the extent that if there are no opposition within the PDP or challenging the waivers, you may see a situation where APC's candidates would be deemed to be legal because they are being imposed or they're conducting the convention against certain violations. You know, when we come to APC, we'll talk about that. But for PDP, it's a big gain because for the first time again, after the last election, we see APC making an inroads into South-South. We first had Bayelsa, and Bayelsa became Sora Grape. And then with Edo State has been in the kitty, you know, for more than 8 years, and now even 12 years actually, going to 12 years. And now Edo State seems to be going back, you know, to PDP. That's a major boost for PDP because PDP to some extent is in state of disarray. So it's now, we now find a situation where it has galvanized opinion within the PDP that leaders must close rank, and that is what you see them trying to do in other states currently, just because of what happened in Edo State. So it has a ripple effects on development in other states, and to the extent that it has galvanized PDP, PDP was reeling from corruption smear for a long time, only to find a new tempo that, okay, at the end of the day, even APC governors are defecting to PDP. So it's a major boost for PDP. Okay,
when you're talking, let's look at, I'm still coming to you, let's look at party ideologies now. Before joining a particular party, you joined APC saying they're following your mandates, you like their views and all that. Now let's look at this issue of cross-carpeting. Now, just because you lost or you were disqualified, does this justify your moving over to another party so immediately, or do we see, because a lot of people are saying it's more of selfish concerns or selfish interests, you moving on to a party just because you were disqualified from the other party? I mean, if you're saying, because while you were contesting, you said the PDP was not following your ideals, and now you're going back to that party. So what do we see there?
When you look, there are two ways to look at it. One is freedom of association.
Okay.
You should have a right to associate with me or not to associate with me, or to disengage at any point in time when you think it's no more in your interest. What happened is APC to some extent, disengaged, with Obaseki on governorship, but retained him as a member of the party. Obaseki on his own part decided that, okay, I will disengage myself from the party. That is his right to do that.
Okay.
If you look at the ideological angle to it, when you look at it in terms of governance, it only underlines one thing: the lack of principles, the fact that in Nigeria, politicians don't stick to programs, to stick to ideals. It shows clearly that they are willing to sleep today in APC, in the morning, wake up in APC in the morning, in the afternoon they are with PDP, and tonight they will sleep with the same SDP. So these things are possible because we do not have basic values underpinning those political parties. There are no common programs or common ideology. Just reflect over our last elections. You realize that people are not voting for political programs. It's quite different from the days of UPN, MPN, when people say, oh, this party represents the masses. They're talking about free education for all, and MPN was talking about qualitative education, but not free. And therefore, they think they stood for elitist interest, where UPN was perceived, to stand for masses. So we don't have those clear cut. When you look at all the political parties currently, they are all a it's a mixed bag of different characters with different interests or similar interests. So you can't clearly see what a particular party represents. For me, I do not see the difference between APC and PDP. Basically. Just
so in other words, we're moving into like a one-party system. Is that what you're trying to do?
No, it's not even a one-party. If it's a one-party system, it's even better understood. We are doing a pretense. We are playing a political pretense, that we call political democracy. This is not political democracy. In a situation where it is possible to move from one party to the other, and people are not voting on the basis of policies, on the basis of program, that cannot be, multi-party democracy. We are voting one way. We are going one way, without direction. We are like a rudderless ship currently. You can't even define the Nigerian political system, taking into account what is generally perceived, to mean pluralist democracy means. You cannot even define.
So does it mean we're like going back now, retrogressive? Because we're looking at, that's like last week you talked about June 12th Democracy Day, and you talked about in the past UNPP and the rest. So it doesn't mean we are going backwards instead of moving forward in our political.
We are actually not even going backward. The political experiment in Nigeria today cannot be found anywhere. There is no other analogy to it. You can't draw any analogy to it, because this is the only country where people don't vote for policies, they don't vote for programs, and yet they expect, politicians to perform. Meanwhile, votes are being bought. We know godfathers are the one imposing people here and there. So at the end of the day, the vote of the people does not count, and yet we say it's democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people. Yet their vote does not count. So how do they influence the choice of people in governance? So that is why you cannot clearly define a democracy, as the normal democracy we all know. What we have is an homegrown, distorted form or distorted version of popular democracy.
Wow. Okay, we're still looking at the People's Democratic Party now. We know that the deputy governor for Gordon Obaseki, that's Philip Shuaibu, also moved over to the People's Democratic Party. Now, let's hear your own take on it. Do we see Obaseki's camp now? Do we see like a joint ticket now for Obaseki and Shuaibu? And do we see them winning the PDP ticket?
Yeah. Before I will go to that, I just want to throw more light in the area of Godfather.
Okay.
It's just that, unfortunate, when we get something, the way we project it, when Nigerians see it, Godfather have been there. Religiously, Moses was godfather to Joshua. Elijah was godfather to Elisha. It's just that when we get something, we turn it negatively. There's nothing bad in godfather.
That's like a mentor now.
He's like a mentor, somebody that directs and, you know, guide you.
Okay.
For a better future. The issue of Oshomole and Godwin. Obaseki. I believe at the time or before he was kind of, you know, agreed to make him the governor, there's agreement. There is agreement, and he obeyed. Before now, most of Godfather, they would take the people, their anointed son, to a shrine to take oath in this country for what is happening now. For me, I see that Obaseki is someone that cannot be trusted. I'm sorry to say this, because before now, even some of the people that were loyal to Oshomole start resigning. It means that there's a problem. He already derailed from the agreement he had with Oshomole. He was not the only one that went for governorship then, but he was choosing based on agreement. On that, he fell. In the area of going to PDP, for me, is a mistake, sir. Why is a mistake is that in this country, I have seen people, you know, that gone to unknown party, and at the end of the day, they win. If you say that this man have achieved a lot, in order to prove points, let him go to unknown party. In 2007, when Orji Carlo, former governor of Abia State, has issue with PDP, he floated a party called PPA. So T.O.G. used that party when he was disqualified in the PDP. The same thing, Hakim in Imo State did the same thing, sir. And he won with a known party, PPA. In Ondo, Dr. Shegu Mimiko did that. He went to use the Labour Party and emerged a winner. I expected him to go for this unknown party because I see problem in PDP. Even when they will use him to win, and the end of the day they will take him out and remove him from seat. Look at the Kenneth and the Ihema. They vowed that they're not going to step down. If they kind of say, okay, let's watch, they wait, let the PDP use Obaseki to win the election. Sir, they will go after him to court. I expected him, looking at what we had, he have achieved. They say he have achieved a lot. The problem he had with both, apart from Oshomole, APC members, is that they say he have take food from their mouth. It's not because he's not he's not working or he has not achieved a lot. Based on that, he should not have gone to PDP. PDP is the main position. But
I totally disagree. Let me tell you.
Okay, let's hear from
because I don't think you have sufficient appreciation of what happened, historically speaking, that Oshomole had an agreement with Obaseki, who brought Oshomole into politics. You might not be aware of that. It's Obaseki. It's Obaseki. He was the one that actually invited Oshomole to be the governor. That's the starting part of the story. In fact, Oshomole was having the issues, with a friend of mine who is a senior advocate, and I knew when Oshomole had to explain it that, look, because over Oge, because Oshomole had been boasting and saying that we'll hand over to his SSG then, Oge. And why did you change your mind on handing over to Oge? Some people had issues with him. And Adams Oshomole now told the son that, look, you don't need to have issues with me. The only reason why I handed over to Obaseki was because Obaseki brought me into government and had an agreement with him. Okay. So when you actually look at that, from that angle, you will see the issue. The other issue is about whether I should go for PDP or go to PPA or a non-party. You only need to look at the last election, which brought Obaseki in. It was a tight race. That virtually it was a two-horse race.
Yes.
It was so close that the only reason why Obaseki won that election, why APC won the state, was because the vote counting that was taking part in a particular area, they were timed out. There wasn't enough time to complete that counting. So it was on a technical ground. So therefore, when you want to contest, if you find yourself in the position, I'm not pro Obaseki, I'm only analyzing based on what I know. If I find myself in the position of Obaseki, do I go to some months, just barely 2, 3, 4 months to election?
Yeah.
Do I go to a very weak party which I have to start rebuilding in a country where there are no clear ideological
So looking at people that do you know that many people are following him now? He have followers.
I know.
He's
but
do I
go to build structures within a state alone? It will take time.
Yeah.
Do I need to go through that? There is no time to do it. We're already about to do primaries. I won't have time. I'll get distracted. Why not use an establishment? For me, that's a rational decision. It does not mean I agree that he went to PDP. No, it does not mean I even agree that he left APC. But I'm only saying, when you look at it rationally speaking, given the fact that election is just some months away, do you now
by
go back?
27th now,
That's right. Do you now go to a party that you now need to start looking for offices in each local government, asking people? You know, you wouldn't want to do that. That's why I think maybe you didn't fully appreciate the whole difficulties surrounding that.
Okay, I still have a question for you, Stanley. You still mentioned the issue of godfatherism.
Yes.
We understand the whole intent of it, but somehow, as you said, we've taken it the other way around. Now, you said Obaseki and Oshomole had an agreement.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
Let's say he did not follow that particular agreement.
Yes.
Let's say that's what
that one led
It's
to.
correct, yes.
Yeah, okay, you didn't follow that particular agreement, but now as a governor, wouldn't you still allow the person in position have a freedom to do whatever he wants to do, rather than imposing what you want? I'm asking you that.
Yeah, but nothing again, that this question I do ask, where is the wisdom? Look at what happened to Ambode, Lagos State. At least, I believe that those governors or any other leader should learn. If you have intention to contest for 2 terms, you'll be dancing their music, that is it. It plays everywhere.
But if you're dancing to their music, that means you're not free, then that means you're not the one ruling, then another person is the one ruling. If you're saying that each governor should dance to the will of his godfather, is that what you're saying?
But what about the people that have cordial relationship with their godfather till now? What is going on? Does it mean that
it's not as cordial as that?
Because the problem we're having, the problem what people say is that we vote for a person. You're not voting for the godfather. We are voting for this particular person. So would I be following the ideologies of the other person? What if what the godfather is saying is not what would be good for the state, and the governor is saying, no, this is not what I want? So you're saying that the person should always follow the godfather?
Rita, you and I know that there's no any transparent primaries in this country.
Okay.
I mean, when it comes to selecting who represents party, it's those people that agree. It's those people that will say, this is who we want.
So in other,
and if they pick you, my point is this: at least Obaseki would have danced with them. When you get that, I know that if he's still in relationship with Oshomole, sir, he would have gotten second term.
Do you know what caused the problem? Immediately Obaseki emerged. It was over who would be the principal officers of the House of Assembly. From the camp of Obaseki, they are alleging that Oshomole wanted to produce the speaker, deputy speaker, and majority leader. Basically, he wants to control the House to checkmate the governor. And they felt he was trying to follow the Lagos political model. Okay, Lagos political model has been successful. Ashaju has been the only governor, former governor, who has been able to hold onto the state, you know, and then one way or the other been able to successfully ensure that his supporters are the ones ruling in the state. Now, Adams has such an idea in mind.
Exactly.
When you actually look at what happened, how did Adam came into office? He fought godfatherism. He fought Tony Anini to a standstill. To the extent that Adams even said after taking over power that you still have to continue to go after those godfathers so that they do not give rise.
So that is political statement.
That's a political statement. Look, when you start from that ideological viewpoint, that was not where Tinubu started from. Tinubu emphasized on loyalty and continuity. Whatever that means, you can interpret that. But in terms of Adam, the way Adam came in, what he emphasized,
fighting godfatherism.
Yeah, fighting godfatherism. So when you say you are about that, and you are producing another governor, you should know that that governor will not allow you to be godfather.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say, it will continue happening in this country. If, as anointing son, they bring you in, and you feel like, let me start building my structure, and you have intention to go for second time. Okay, that way I say, where is the wisdom? It would have, like I said, don't follow them.
Okay, well, I think Stanley is going towards the issue of
when you go to second time, you can start building your structure, not at the first term. You start building your structure.
Okay. All right, let's move over to the All Progressives Congress. I think Stanley still has his own ideas on that, but I think the people still have their own views on that particular stand, because we're trying to kick away the issue of godfatherism, because we see that Nigerians have taken godfatherism to another level there. Now, in the issue of the All Progressives Congress, we've seen that we have two factors emerging. We saw Victor Gaydam emerging, we saw a court order validating it. Then we saw another one again of the APC talking about Abiola Ajimobi being the national chairman, and there's so much controversy. Now, what do you see with this crisis in the All Progressives Congress? I mean, Obaseki has left, and now crisis has started with the suspension of Oshomole Biodun.
I really sympathize with the president, Muhammadu Buhari, and the APC national leader over the crisis rocking the party, because I'm sure they must be having serious headache currently. It's not just about Edo State. It's about what happened at the national level. APC constitution provided that, look, in the case of a void in an office, the National Working Committee can nominate somebody, but it must be ratified by NEC. APC constitution also provided for that if the National Working Committee can set up guidelines for election, for primaries, but also it must be ratified by National Executive Council. It must be approved. It's a requirement. And in this situation, what you see is that the NEC has not been convoked since 2018. So therefore, the APC already has a serious problem over so many issues. One, if you look at the appointment of Ajimobi, he was not elected. He came in as a result of Niyi Adebayo, former Governor Niyi Adebayo becoming a minister. So there was a vacuum. Now, he was rightfully appointed or nominated by National Working Committee. It has not been ratified because no NEC meeting has taken place since then. So that is the first problem. So therefore, arguably, his appointment is incoherent. It has not been completed. Now, you now come to the issue of Gaydam himself. At the point in time when Gaydam went to court, two national vice chairmen duly elected were on suspension. The Niyi Adebayo was not there again, and then you have that post vacant, no Ajimobi, whose appointment in any case is incoherent. And then the national secretary had actually left to contest for governorship in another state, and he won, so he was not coming back. So Gaydam now became the acting national secretary. I'm analyzing not from any political viewpoint, whether PDP or APC. No, just let's look at the facts. So Gaydam became the national secretary. So on March 8th, when Justice Bature gave the order saying Gaydam should be the acting national chairman, it was based on those vacancies in deputy national vice chairman's post. To the extent that the national secretary had also left, and that was why Gaydam did apply to the court, and the court duly recognized him, and gave that order. Until that order is vacated, Gaydam remains the acting national chairman. Yes, people can go to court of coordinate jurisdiction and then obtain similar order. That will only add more to the confusion. What the APC needs to do, and which I sympathize with the leaders of APC, is to approach the Court of Appeal and then get that order overturned. But I would suggest, before approaching Court of Appeal, the National Executive Council Committee, NEC of APC, should meet once they've convoked it, ratify those decisions, ratify those appointments, and now approach the court. And unfortunately, there's a statutory, before it's time, statutorily time barred, they need to do all that.
Yeah.
So the issue on ground is, how do you call a NEC meeting within such a short period? So these are the complications, and that is why I know the president, who is the overall, the supreme leader of APC, and the national leader will be so much troubled by what is going on. But the fact of the matter is, whether you can use legal challenges to delay things one way or the other, but the bottom line at the end of the day is that the first order given by the courts recognized Gaydon. So we need to go back and make sure that all these political parties, PDP, APC, sort themselves out. Rather than using the court, to undermine internal party democracy, we need to insist on political parties actually implementing their own constitution. If you require approval, you must get approval before you allow the person to resume in office. So I think these are the issues.
All right, thank you very much. Well, we know that the Edo election is supposed to be in September 19, so we'll wait and see how far these parties are able to garner enough votes. Or APC, as the advice goes from Biodun, you need to get your house together. And PDP, well, we wish you all the best as we wait for all these things to unfold. Now, let's move over to health matters. Now, as I said earlier on, as at 11:05 p.m. June 19, Nigeria recorded 667 new cases of COVID-19. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Lagos once again is topping the chart. Lagos has 281 new cases, Abia 48, Oyo State has 45, FCT 38, Ogun 37, Enugu 31, Ondo 23, Plateau 21, Edo State 19 cases, Delta 18 cases. So far so good. Total we have 19,147 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Number of discharged, we have 6,581. Number of deaths, let's take a look at this critically because it's increasing, is 487. Now globally we have confirmed cases over 8 million cases, recovered 4.25 million, and deaths 460,000 people. Of course, we know that COVID-19 has brought lots of loss to the country, and we do mourn with all those who have lost their lives, families of victims who lost their lives as a result of COVID-19. We know of the veteran broadcaster, of course, and on-air personality Dan Foster, who died due to COVID-19 complications. I grew up listening to Dan Foster, and it was really a mentor for me. So it was really touching hearing of his death. We do pray that his soul rests in peace, and of course the families are able to cope with this trying period. We also know that in Lagos, a senator, of course, that is Adeba Sikiru Oshino, popularly known as Peperito of the All Progressives Congress, also lost his life due to COVID-19 complications. So we know that this is real. People are dying as a result of COVID-19. Please do stay safe and follow all the safety and guideline precautions given to you by the NCDC and the WHO. And that good news is on the way. We know that the WHO has approved UK dexamethasone as for clinical trial as a cure, and we know in Nigeria, Plateau Committee claims discovery of 13 antiviral plants. So at least there is, let's say, a light at the end of the tunnel. We are seeing green lights here of cures to the virus. Now, while we're talking about health concerns, we know that the doctors' strike, Nigerian resident doctors embarked on a nationwide strike, and in response the Nigerian government released 4.5 billion naira to federal hospitals, but yet the strike is still on, and they complain that most times they do not actually see the money that's being given by the federal government. Okay, let me start with you, Stanley. So what's your view on this resident doctor strike at a period while we are battling a pandemic?
For me, what we'll do is to appeal to them. It's not surprise. It's not surprise. You know your master. It's not something that we needed you, because we can't do without those people. We can't do those without these medical officers. For me, you should appeal to them, let them come back. At least looking at the impact, the negative impact of this pandemic, the whole world. The issue of neglecting them do not start today, and it won't be resolved within short time. Yes, it will be resolved within short time. know the kind of leaders we have. There are people that they don't listen. Even the money they release is because they went on strike. That's why they release it. And they know them. The best thing is let them please come back and for the sake of God and for the sake of humanity. That is what I will say.
Okay, now you're saying that they should appeal to them to come back. I know we have a reason due to the whole pandemic, but in a situation where they do not have protective kits to take care of themselves, and this is one of the reasons, apart from money and all that, the things that are going to help them to take care of themselves are not available. So would you still say we should appeal to them to continue to end the strike?
That's another thing that surprised us. Looking at all the donation they've made, people provide this, apart from money, people provide this equipment. The question is, where are those equipment? And I was discussing with somebody. He said, is it the job of journalists to go I said, where would the journalists go and look for those equipment? The question is this, where are those equipment? Is somebody keeping it for himself or what?
So you're saying they are hoarding the equipment now?
Yes, because looking at many companies were donating, apart from money, equipment. I mean the PEP and all that, both the face masks, the glove, all this, they were donating it. And the question is, where are those things?
Okay.
I believe the EFCC should wake up. It's not about when they come to issue of money, but this is a kind of challenge that they should wake up and find out where are those things. It's traceable. It's not handled by ghosts. It's handled by human being. Somebody receive it. Find out who received this, at what point, and where it is at this point. They should go on.
Okay, Biondi, what's your own take on this?
Well, the way I read it is this. Yes, there may be an issue with corruption requiring EFCC intervention. I do not have any evidence to suggest that currently. Okay. But I would not totally discountenance it. But this is what I think is happening. We have a situation where there's a huge intervention from the private sector, from social clubs, individual Nigerians, to
international
try and help,
organizations,
including international organizations to try and help. But what I think happened is, in the course of the pandemic, because of the lockdown of the economy, the IGR was not coming in to states and federal government. And by the end of June, this month, we'll begin to see the revenue being allocated. It will start dropping drastically. So the states will be in trouble. I think given that situation, because they lost a lot of money, which should have been used to fund, the health sector and other sectors of the economy, those aids that came in were simply plugging those holes. I think there's a problem with that, because if you've allocated, say, 100 billion for the health sector, and then over a period of 4 months, 5 months, no revenue is coming in, the allocation is based on the expected income. And if that is not coming in, the money being donated are simply being used and the equipment as, to subvert, not as subvention, to plug the hole.
Okay. To divert it from what it's meant for. Is what they're saying,
I don't think it's divert. Government originally has its own budget for the health sector.
Yes.
Okay.
But the revenue to fund it wasn't coming in due to the total lockdown that we had initially. But the private sector,
apart from the total lockdown, this has not been, it's not a recent thing. We've been having this issue with resident doctors. In fact, most institutions from the federal government. So I don't know if this lockdown will be very visible.
The case of doctors is very clear. I don't think we have behaved properly with the doctors. It's not only the doctors, it's virtually all sectors of the economy.
Exactly.
Everybody is important, in the productive chain. And so therefore, it's not just the doctors. But what you see is that what accounts for the plight of many people is largely because of the devaluation of Naira, in a way that the Naira from 160, 162 now became, 300, 400 now. And that has reduced the purchasing power of people's income. So we are bound to have agitations. The season of discontent will soon come in. And you see labor, saying, look, hang on a minute, we need to do something about it. But it's a different thing when you talk about emoluments, salaries. It's totally different from talking about working conditions. Because part of the working conditions include the PPE, personal protective equipment, which the doctors need to be able to perform their duty without risking their lives. Working as a medical doctor should not be a death sentence, just like any other profession.
Yeah.
Even working as a soldier should not be a death sentence. Working as a police officer should not be a death sentence. That is why they give them, you know, bulletproof vest and all that in order to save their lives. So in the same way, the bulletproof vest for doctors are the personal protective equipment. So they need the PPE. Government at all levels, both state, local government and federal, needs to pay attention to those demands. If they're able to deal with that, the issue of salaries, you know, operates and allowances can easily be dealt with. If it is only if a doctor is alive that they can enjoy the allowances. So. But if they are not alive, if their lives is being put at risk, then they have the right to go on strike. So I think government should, my appeal will be to government to provide those personal protective equipment. And those who are actually donating money, to stop donating money, please donate the personal protective equipment, face masks and other things, COVID-19 testing.
So there are a lot of them being donated by various
but also a lot of money are being donated. The question is,
where are those things?
Yeah,
but
a lot of money are being donated, more than those equipments, right? If we use all this money, buy those equipment, donate it to government, they won't have a choice than to provide those equipment rather than using that money to plug other sectors of the economy. All
right, thank you very much, Bjorn. Rightly said there. Of course, we have messages coming in. This one says godfatherism should be prohibited in Nigerian political system so that the country will move forward to the promised land. That is from Ose. This one says doctors are lifesavers. After God is doctor, they should answer them to avoid strike. Okay, this one is talking about the Obaseki's issue. Said, Rita, please ask Bjorn if he's telling us that Obaseki's credentials are in order as submitted by him. That is Leke from Dokbemo. He's asking you if the credentials, that's if Obaseki is actually cleared of his credential certificates there. Yes, the requirement, according to our constitution, the minimum requirement is school certificate. Even a court, in the case of Osun State, I think, has given a verdict that you don't even have to have the GC, the certificate. The argument that the HSC, higher school certificate, was unknown. I knew about HSC. Then was secondary school. I can name the schools doing HSC in those days because the HSC is what later became A-level. So I knew some of these things are political issues. I also know somebody. I'm not pro-Obaseki in any form. Not pro-Obaseki in any form, but I also know someone, a friend of mine, who actually went to the same University of Ibadan with Obaseki. The registrar of University of Ibadan has confirmed that he went to that school. So what is left? At the same time, what is left? If the first time it was clear, and now there's issue, the people that clear him at the first time should be get arrested for deceiving Nigerians. I mean, if the premier university, the registrar of that university of Ibadan can come out to say, yes, he has declared. What more do you need? Okay, what Obaseki did is right, and I wish him success. That's another message. This one says, Obaseki made a mistake by joining PDP. Joining PDP is not the best way forward for Obaseki. We also have another message here. This is Mazio Bioma from Imo State. I want to ask APC and Adams, how come they did not know that Governor Obaseki did not qualify when he ruled for 4 years? That's the same question that Stanley brought there. This one says, good day, everyone. He's talking about you in the middle. How can you say they should dance the tune? So if he should ask Obaseki to kill the whole village, he should do it because he wants to remain the governor. He's talking about you saying follow the dictates of Oshomole, and he's saying if he asks you to kill everybody, will he actually kill everybody because you're following dictates of your godfather? Okay, Stanley. No need to reply to that one there. Okay, let's go to another issue now. Talking about security, and security is still one of the front burners that are caught during the week. And we know that the Northern Elders Forum talked to President Muhammadu Buhari, rather wrote a letter, and they complained about the incessant killings in the north, particularly in Katsina. So we saw a viral video that went online, and in response, the presidency, as we still call it, that's in charge of media and publicity, Femi Ade, Adesina debunked those statements, but the president himself complained about it, and he told his service chiefs that excuses will not be tolerated again. I think for the first time, a lot of Nigerians are commending President Muhammadu Buhari for once speaking up against the insecurity issues in Nigeria. Let's take a look at that clip, and we'll be right back.
In no uncertain terms that he and indeed the administration came to power on the platform of 3 issues: fighting insecurity, overcoming our economic difficulties, and dealing with the scourge of corruption. And he also noted that it takes common sense for anyone to understand that without security, the pursuit of the other 2 objectives will just be an exercise in futility.
We're still on to Editors Forum, exclusive to Guys Television, and we're looking at security concerns now in the northern part. And we saw there Babagana Munguno talking about what the president said, talking about security issues, and the president said no excuses this time to his service chiefs. Would we say for once, or rather commend President Muhammadu Buhari that for once is speaking up, or that it's rather too late? Biodun, let's hear from you.
Well, I don't think it's too late. The security issue is a very complex one, indeed, because we have a country battling with Boko Haram, insurgency on one hand. We also have our own internal wrangling, different security problem, rape and all that. You have banditry, we have kidnapping going on. We have a situation where a lot of soldiers are now helping the police in internal policing against even the provisions of the constitution, because we do not have enough policemen. So I praise the Nigerian soldiers for doing a very tough job, including the Nigerian police officers, for working in a very difficult situation to contain, the security threats facing the country. That much, sir. The fact of the matter is the president has appointed and is totally responsible for all the service chiefs, including the IGP. If they failed, and as we've seen in the case of Katsina, which is quite disheartening, the number of people being killed needlessly, I think the president is right to give a marching order. And I don't think if this trend continues, the president can, the position of the president can be tenable in terms of keeping them in office. It may be time to rejuvenate, that rank of officers, and then let's see whether people with fresh thinking, can come into office and solve this problem. But I'm very pleased that the president at least has more or less said, enough is enough. Get your hearts together. If you don't, then it would have to effect changes. So we may be fast approaching some changes being made before or by the end of the year in the rank of officers, because this level of security threat is just not acceptable.
Okay, Stanley, would you also agree to the calls for the removal of the service chiefs?
I was surprised when my colleagues here said that. For me, they are overstayed. Nigeria have been calling before now that those people should be changed. Nigeria have been calling the president, please remove those people. They are fair. In the issue of Katsina, the other day, the National Assembly were blaming the governor for negotiating with those bandits. What do you expect him to do? He is the chief security officer of the state. Before he took that step, he consults stakeholders. Before he consults stakeholders, he has seen help from federal government. I did not get it. And he thought that through negotiating with those people, peace will come. It's not easy for him, even if there's security challenge in that state. I remember 2008 or 9, a convoy of a governor was attacked in the southeast, to show that it's not easy for him. It's not easy. And he went and negotiated. Our president he have not been listening to Nigerians. Nigeria have said, remove those people. They have tried. We have seen their ability. Get new people. I think that when you bring new people on board, they will try to make some effort. They will try to at least to try to show that they can do something. Sir, those people have overstayed.
My brother, the situation is complex. Let me give you some examples. Look at Rivers State, Lagos State, Ogun State. These are states where serious crimes are likely going to happen.
Okay.
And they've been able to contain it to the extent that we do not have major challenges, you know, like what we are seeing elsewhere. How? Go and check out. They didn't leave the issue of funding, you know, the police services, you know, to only the government, because the federal government owns the budget for the Nigerian police force. But governors are buying armored vehicles, boots, guns, and bullets, and that is what has happened in many of these states, you know, to the extent that they've been able to maintain special squad like QRS in Ogun, RRS in Lagos. I don't know what is called.
But I think the major concern now is in the north.
Yeah,
the major concern is in the north.
Do they have the same access to the same equipment as police forces, you know, as the ones being supported by the Lagos
If they do not have enough equipment as security agencies, then whose fault is it for not having enough equipment?
It's actually, the problem is federal. When you have a federal system,
which is still under President Muhammadu Buhari.
Precisely, we need to develop. That is why people are talking about restructuring. You cannot control police force from Abuja. You need to allow, you know, the states to have their own police force.
But you compare Lagos, you compare South. Yes. Have you tried to analyze this? The kind of security, there is a crime that going on. You can't compare South with those people, bro. We South have how many banditry or government have come and shoot a community in Lagos or in Port Harcourt? No. Okay, their crime system is different. It's different. It's not something to compare with South. It's a different thing.
No, I'm only highlighting that the police are highly under-equipped.
Okay.
And because they're highly under-equipped, the states affected currently should learn from what Lagos, Ogun, Rivers did, you know, by ensuring through Security Trust Fund that the police force can be better equipped to deal with the threats they are facing, because the federal government has not been able to supply the equipment.
So there's something.
The point
There's something I want to. In that National Assembly, somebody was saying something, and not he said that those banditry are being partnered or sponsored by the traditional rulers. For example, what happened in the, I remember in during the high rate of kidnapping in Abia State, the governor came and any community that they record any crime activities, the traditional leader will be disposed. At least such measures should be taken.
So Stanley, are you saying now that the traditional leaders now should be probed?
If what this man and not it is a yes, said that those traditional rulers are involved.
But they are not being substantiated, though.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, this is where we'll draw the curtains. Of course, we still hope that relevant agencies will do the needful and protect the people on their constituencies and in their environment. Thank you very much, Biodun Show. We, of course, Stanley Hedipo for being a part of Editors Forum. And to our audience, thank you for being a part of Editors Forum. Do join us same time, same station next week, God's willing, for another edition of Editors Forum.
Thank you.
I am Rita Omodia. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you. Russia editor.
It's 32 o'clock.